Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Marketing Your Practice podcast, the podcast where I get to simplify the marketing and the mindset so chiropractors can increase their income, their impact, and their enjoyment in practice too. Now, today's episode, after the success of episode 257, the first in our new practice series, we've got friend of the show, Tony Ebel here. Now, I asked Tony the same questions and I put the same constraint, which was, well, if you had to start a practice from scratch and all you had was $20,000 in the bank and it was in a community where nobody knew you, how would you go about it? Now, Tony took us very methodically, step by step, through exactly what he would do, how exactly he would attract his new patients, when he would employ his first staff person, and what he would spend his first dollar on. This surprised me a little bit, but it makes sense when he tells you all about it. Then, after he knocked it out of the park with the first part of that, I was interested very much for personal reasons to change the game up a little bit. And this time I said, if you had to start a practice, but this time it was on the other side of the country and you were never going to work in it. In fact, you weren't going to deliver any of the services. You had to employ the chiropractors, the front desk staff. How would you do that? How would you make that a success? Now, this is where Tony really came into his own. One of his many strengths is about building great teams. I loved his answer from here. This is something that Lauren and I are thinking about more, particularly with Lauren being away on maternity leave. How do we manage and look after practice when neither of us are there all that much? Anyway, this episode is fantastic. Whether you're wanting to start a practice from scratch or whether you're wanting to start up a second practice, this episode is full of wisdom for you. Enjoy the show. Let's go chat with Tony. See you in there. Tony Ebel, welcome to the Marketing Your Practice podcast. How are you, mate?
I am fantastic, dude. It is, getting to do what we get to do and the way we do it. You'd have to work really hard to be grumpy,
Yeah, there's too much cool stuff going on to be grumpy. Tell me about this T-shirt, man. I'm confused. I'm used to being sponsored by the brother, and we've got a different one on now. What's going on?
We do. So this is for our dude, cheering for Caden is the hashtag. So any listeners, that's what it is. Hashtag cheering for Caden, Cayden. He is just a little beautiful rock star kiddo we take care of. Has some genetic challenges that really stress his quality of life, from respiratory and neurodevelopment and digestion. And so his mom, Crystal, is such a warrior, they've seen such amazing changes with chiropractic that she's now on the team. She is one of our tech CAs, helps run scans. She's actually just jumping in and doing Instagram reels and helping with us. So we all surprised her today. They just got back from a Make-A-Wish trip to Disney, and we surprised them the whole team was wearing this shirt, which supports their care. So Caden.
I can't get enough of just hearing stories like this. I'm going to just take a moment, because we've got listeners that will be at all different experiences in chiropractic, and what can we care for chiropractic and what can't we as well. So you have a little boy that comes in to see you who has genetic issues as well. So why the hell is he seeing a chiropractor? And tell me the cool stuff that's going on.
Oh man, to always elevate, like this is us for every case. Wherever they begin is where they begin. Whatever their, oh my goodness, it's at night for me. Like,
what does that mean? Wherever they begin, they begin.
To never limit it and never judge it, and just honestly, literally just begin there. Like, I love the day one, day two process, because we're just establishing a baseline that we can help them grow from, heal from, kick ass from. So for Caden, his full throttle potential, you have to factor in principle number 24 and the limitations of matter. And that's just how chiropractic works. But you can also throw out all the BS that the medical team told them, which is limit, 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 limit. So we're just in the business of expanding hope, expanding healing, supporting the families, because those parents, their nervous systems just get fried. So as you're taking care of Caden, you're taking care of them. And, obviously they get in under care too. So yeah, it's just getting that baseline, sitting down knee to knee with parents and not at all telling them anything that isn't neurologically accurate, but being like, look, kids are made to heal no matter what their genetics are. Let's saddle up, kick ass, and see where this goes,
It's very interesting because this can bring out a level of worry and skepticism in some chiropractors that we're saying that chiropractic can cure or chiropractic can help, insert disease here. And then there's these worries about that we have to kind of go bait and switch. I for a long time, I was really heavily involved in our kind of public communication, and I was on some television show. And some crusty reporter said to me, well, I don't know why he picked cerebral palsy, how it came up. He said, what about these chiropractors taking care of cerebral palsy? Like that, chiropractors can't help people with cerebral palsy. And I said, there's a lot of confusion in there that the goal of the chiropractor is to not take care of the cerebral palsy. But we know that whether somebody has cerebral palsy or not, they're much better off with a healthy spine and nervous system. And that's what chiropractors are doing. So it doesn't matter whether it's asthma or cerebral palsy or back pain or headaches. Our job is to make sure they have a healthy spine and nervous system. And this guy got it. It's not rocket science. Your patients will get it too.
That's the blessing in the profession. It is so simple. And if we can, whether we're posted on Instagram or doing whatever, if we can just get ourselves, and I'm talking about kind of teaching and training other chiropractors, if we can just get them to simplify it, especially in the way that they communicate it, then you can magnify it. The moment you complicate it, you limit the heck. That's the business of medicine. They're so complicated. They're so just advanced. They've gone backwards by 100 years.
Yeah, it is. And it can be simplified to have that experience. And so how's Caden's life been better since he's been getting checked?
Oh man, motor control. So where his challenges really affect him is his motor system is supposed to be a mess, like no head control, no standing up, he's not running around the office yet, but his therapist can't believe how much progress he can make with standing, with sitting, with doing some things on his own, with kind of and that's just that touch. If a parent, if they're not going to hear the words "I love you," because of a kiddo's challenge, whatever, that they can feel "I love you." Right. And we really should know that as chiropractors, that the power is in touch. So his neuromotor system is so much better. His digestion, these kids get really clogged up because it's a motor issue. Well, that motor issue doesn't just go to the outside, it goes to the inside. So they're really compromised respiratory and digestive. Dude, I can just look at that kid and he'll take a dump just because he knows I'm going to adjust. So they don't have to battle this constant impaction and going to the hospital to get cleared. So these are things that I don't think most of us would ever think about, but those families, we have a huge special needs part of our practice. They live it every day, every moment. And when you can move some of those 3, 5, 10 things that they're supposed to be buried with every day, and you can move those out of the way, that is moving mountains. You know what I mean? And it just shows those kids what's possible. And it shows it shows their parents what's possible with chiropractic. And I think here's a place where the profession is growing through the Cadens of the world and the Levi's of the world. It shows all the other providers who are caring for these kids. Whoa, there's an outlier here. This kid's not sick all the time. This kid's not constipated all the time. This kid's actually making progress in their therapies when they're supposed to regress in their therapies. What's different? Oh, they're getting adjusted. Tell me more about it. And we just train our patients to be like, well, I'll send in that crazy ass out, lunch and learn time, baby, let's go.
Yeah. It's a beautiful, simple message that we complicate. And there are nuances around it. But, I just want to remind our listeners that it doesn't, the families in your community, whether they be adults or kids that are coming into you, which you might not put under the umbrella of chiropractic, the only thing that you have to promise them is that I'm going to assess your spine and nervous system and do the very best I can to make sure that's working great. That's enough for almost everybody. Like, I'm up for that. It's not rocket science to draw a link between how that works and how everything else works. And then you also get yourself out of trouble by saying that chiropractic is a cure for A, B, C, and D as well. So it's a more safe way to practice. It's a more honest way to practice. And it's a more enjoyable way to practice. Yes. I've found also to stay in my lane and say, this is what we're going to work with as well. Let's get to work. So, oh
yeah, dude, if our training program and our seminars had a tattoo, it would be stay in your lane. Yeah. That, I speaking of studying communication, I've spent so much of my life studying communication to parents Now I know I can continue to expand my impact by studying communication to us, really trying to relate and empathize with us. And so many, here's my current battle on it. We're talking it out on your podcast here. I know that I attract all these chiropractors into the pediatric experience, and students and startups are our favorite ones. And they want to serve kids and families, but then, so they get in, they're getting towards that. And then they kind of, they'll give themselves pause, like, well, special needs, cerebral palsy, autism, ADHD. I don't know some of them literally will consciously draw the line, and they'll see pregnant moms and little babies, but they'll kind of tell me like, I don't want to see perfect stormers or all that. And here's why I think they draw the line there. They think we do something different. We actually overly simplify the message for those families, even more so than others, because they've already had their life so extra complicated. Yep. We got to pull the steering wheel the other way. And then we just, awesomely minimizing with that word, we just do chiropractic. There is some in our profession who have, kind of tried to don the white coat with their name stenciled in cursive on it, and it looks like therapy, it looks like medicine, and it looks like you're trying to treat the condition if you're doing a bunch of therapy, because the definition of therapy is to treat the condition. But when you're just staying in your lane doing chiropractic, the way you literally do it, every visit, every room, every consult is the same for cerebral palsy as it is for a wellness baby, as it is for mom and dad with back pain and neck pain.
Yes.
Nothing changes.
Yeah.
The more sick and stressed kids literally just need you to do it more often.
I know and I've been kind of pretty pumped about I like to share a message like this on the socials once every couple of weeks. It's just along the lines that says, you're enough. In case somebody hasn't told you, you're loved, you're valuable, you're enough. And it also could be, chiropractic it's enough, and nothing against if you wanted to do other bits and pieces. I'm all for that, gang. If you have other bits and pieces that you offer that too, offer them because you want to, not because you think chiropractic is not enough in there. But there is some other part of the equation that we have to talk about here. It does require this. It does require that you be fucking good at what you're doing.
Come on.
Like, let's take that away. Let's take away all the communication. Let's take away all the other bits and pieces. Like, how good are you at assessing somebody's spine, knowing on whether or not it's functioning well or not, whether there's a subluxation there or not? If you want to call it that, I don't care. I'm not hung up on the word. That's what we're happy calling it there too. And then how good are you at restoring it back to its best optimal position, i.e. delivering an adjustment? That takes time, and it's a very complex motor skill that you won't be great at straight out of university, but you will be better at tomorrow than you were today. Yeah. So it's not just a matter that chiropractic is enough. We have to get good at it also. That's important. And sometimes I don't think we talk about that enough.
Agreed. I think, and I'd even just push it for literal, because it needs to be pushed for kids. When moms are bringing in their babies, you got to be great at it. Yeah. And you can be great at it right out of the gates. You got to be a different kind of student though. You got to be the student who takes the extra seminars, goes to the extra, assemblies, shadow when you got school break, take one day, paddle in the lake and get hammered, and then take the other 6 days and go to offices and shadow and get to it. Make sure your internship is not some chump internship, but you're actually going to get hands-on and get after it. There's a way to get great right out of the gates. Students and startups, do not let anybody tell you anything different. Chiropractic awesomely isn't that complicated to get great at if you just truly focus on that one thing, the art of the adjustment, which is analysis. And there's the lead up to the adjustment that makes the adjustment great. You stay in that clinical lane and kick ass there, you come out of the gates ready to go. And then your journey is just better and better and better and better, because you get busy and reps get you refined, and miracles are to be expected.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. Today's session is part of what I'm calling a new practice series, where I'm interested in talking with thought leaders in our profession about if they had to start again and some kind of elements of that. I want to start with, and this will be helpful again to take elements out of how Tony's going to answer these questions, that maybe you're not starting back from scratch, but maybe there's a component of your practice that you want to expand. Or maybe you're thinking, you know what, I really would like to move across the country, but there's a story inside your head that I can't do it for some reason. This is kind of part of my intent in wanting to share this too. So there's going to be two different scenarios I'm going to give you with limitations here as well. One of them you don't know about. You kind of heard about some of the stuff we did with Frano, but I wanted to keep one a secret from you. The first one is this: you're starting up a new practice and you've got less than 20 grand. You can't borrow any money as well. So you're really going to have to use a bit of ingenuity, creativity, hustle. And you can't buy your way out of this problem. So it's a community where you don't know anybody. So you're fresh and new in the community. That's important. So you can't build on family relationships, high school buddies, all those kind of things. Where do you start?
Well, at least the last wrinkle is actually a good thing. I remember when I thought I moved in my wife's town. I remember when I thought all our high school buddies were going to be good patients. They were the worst. So I'm happy with that one. But the 20, my HRV, my sympathetics are through the roof right now because I'm an investor. I've borrowed a ton of money, which is all invested money, right? So staying low on finances is hard for me, but it's very strategically, I'd take that 20K. I don't know exactly what it is these days. I have to have an insight. Fletcher's going to cry a happy tear. I have to have technology. Now, if I got to buy a used one, maybe I can get it. I don't even know. Maybe I can get it for 5K, 8K, but I'm not going to rely just on my words, because what my obsession, and I started this way, but in today's world, I would do this more than ever. What I really want to do is I want to shift the conversation about the care I'm going to provide for every patient with everything. Doesn't matter, not just kids, but I think it's even more important with back pain. Shift them off of not just feeling. Everybody thinks of that as like, I'm going to use scanning technology, EMG, thermal HRV. I'm going to use it to, it's the whole feeling versus function. Yes, that we're chiropractors. So we want to move the conversation to function. My obsession is actually to move the conversation off of the spine and onto stress and neurology, because spine is not a sexy word. Nobody gives any craps about their spine, not for themselves, not for their kids, not for anyone else. But stress is the word of today because everybody's buried by it. And they'll buy blue light blocking glasses to magnesium supplements to essential oils to hyperbaric chambers to, I go on and on. They'll battle their stress. They consider that valuable. So I would spend whatever that is.
I feel pretty confident. You might not get the latest technology. I feel pretty confident that you would get something for 5K. It might not even be a 3-tech, but you'd get something to start in there too. And then I think Fletcher probably, again, we're not allowed to borrow money, but whether they have it, but let's just say we're going to put 5K towards getting whatever we can out of that, some sort of technology that kind of helps the discussion before we got into this, which is says, look, regardless of what you're coming in for, I'm going to check your spine and nervous system. And this will be one of the tools that we'll be using to take it away from feeling only. Yeah, I like it. Okay. So you've got 15 grand left.
Yeah. Well, you got to have other stuff. You got to have, even if you get, again, used stuff, table, your software to get people scheduled. So let's just call 5, other stuff, equipment list. So you got 5 out. I would take
a very basic table you're getting. We're not getting a Zenith Vertilift pneumatic dropped.
Totally.
But it's a basic table and then a computer, which you're probably going along with you. But let's say you've got another 5. So you've got 10K left as well. Okay. But at this stage too, we don't have a place to practice from. And so you're probably going to need to be a little bit of a deposit down on that as far as a month or two's rent in advance, maybe not.
Yep. So I think you're right. So maybe there's another couple grand there. And then I did this and everybody told me we were dumb and Christina and I did it. And I'm going to go find my right-hand CA. I'm going to find somebody that I'm going to hire. I think, so if we think investing in technology, because it is powerful, investing in equipment and a space is powerful. People are the most powerful thing God ever put on this planet. They outpower tech in terms of this. And again, I'm going for a pediatric and family practice, and you have to have a much higher level of professionalism to get a mom to bring their family in. So if you run your own shop, you're answering your own phones, you're doing your own office tours, you're sweeping your own floors and doing everything else. That just really swipes professionalism out of the legs.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we did is we hired a part-time CA. So I would spend all that rest on payroll, because when it comes to marketing the practice in the beginning, I got time. I got no money left, but I got time, I got energy, I got heart, I got hustle. And I'm just floating around town. I mean, I'll ride my bike around town. And but I'll finish it with this. And I also I guess I could do it in the space depending on the setup of it. But you could even go to the library. Different community business places will give you a free space if you just sell it. You're like, hey, I'm a startup, I don't have this. I'm going around town, old school, and I'm driving all of my traffic that I'm meeting and greeting. And then I'm also social media. I'm documenting the journey. I'm doing videos. I'm writing posts. I mean, I'm probably posting 2 to 3 times a day. All of that traffic that I can do for free. I can go meet people for free, and I can post for free, organic. And I would learn the algorithm and rock reels and do things that are actually going to make it work. I would be in the now with my marketing strategy, and I would drive all that traffic to talks. I would do workshops 2 nights a week, because I know that when I first meet them, whether I have a 3-minute chat with them because I'm out and about, just doing the first meetup, or if they're first meeting me on the screen, they're not going to come in for care, because that's like putting a ring on it, but they'll come maybe learn more. I think of building a practice, I think of all practices this way. We thrive on stories. So patient stories, I don't got them yet, so I can't use them in this scenario. And then education. Like I think of it, and I teach it, like when you make a Facebook ad or you want to boost it, Facebook gives you an option as to what button you want to put in the video. Buy now, there's more than these 2, but listeners, only worry about these 2 when you build your strategy. Buy now or learn more. Never select buy now. At the top of the funnel, the top of the flywheel, no mom is ready to buy from you until she's watched 17 videos, talked to 3 people, and probably even met you in person at that workshop. But that learn more button, that's your impact. That's your practice. Just smash that mother live and learn more button and give as many videos and as many of that. So I'm driving all the traffic to the workshop. And then my CA is going to be at that workshop. Even if it's the only hour of work I can afford to pay her for the week, I'm going to be like, Julie, I need you to be standing at the door, welcoming these people, wear a nice shirt. Let's look professional. Here we go.
Yeah. And the good thing is that, we call her Julie because it's not like you have to pay Julie all her way. Like you just each week. And then from week 1, there's some money starting to come in. But I'm interested that both you and, Stephen had said that you would staff it from day 1. And I love that, because after really thinking about it between the 2 of you, I'm 100% on board, but I don't know that was my natural inclination, but I'm definitely kind of sold on it. So, week 1, if we chose the right person, the CA's not going to be having lots of CAing to be doing, but you bet she can be kind of organizing talks and booking people in, helping ground roots with some of the social media stuff. There's a lot of things that she can be doing. And when you employ that person, as long as that's your agreement, like here's the things we're going to be doing. You've now, as you talked about, you've got that human capital. So I want to get into some of the nitty gritties, because we're going to be having a talk that we're going to be doing in person. And I like the idea that even if the practice isn't big enough and you don't have chairs for it at this stage, there are plenty of community places that you can do these things for libraries for minimal expense there too. What is the talk about first? And then second, I want to see if you could role play with me a scenario of which you and I might meet each other and how that might lead to an invitation to the talk.
Okay. So the first part there, the talk is, there's 3 to 4 versions of the same talk. I think all of us chiropractors, most of us chiropractors do it this way. We're going to have a chiropractic principles, subluxation science, potential conversation. We're just going to change the cover of the book. So like when I was in these startup phases, I really had four talks in my arsenal. I had raising healthy kids naturally. So you go to it's called MOPS around here, mothers of preschool age children, different preschools where they're going to have moms have really young kids. And that's kind of my young kid talk, talking some nursing and digestion and so baby stuff and beginning year stuff. I started doing the Perfect Storm talk instantly. And I would, again, if I'm resetting up, I would actually, if it's me moving to Florida, like pretty much everybody else from Illinois did, and in the last 2-3, I'm the last man standing in my team. I would I'd niche Perfect Storm and do that talk all the time. So that one's ADHD, anxiety, that sort of stuff. There's a stress talk, which is just for parents. If you're doing a CPA for, business, or that's your audience, you lean it towards that part. If it's corporate, it's stress in adults, exhaustion, energy, mental performance, those sort of things. And then there's a prenatal talk too, if I happen to make some, community connections in the prenatal space. Sorry, what was the other part?
Hold you there, because this might, would you see it that you would be booked out for having a plan in your mind of the talks you're doing over the next 6 weeks that were alternating between different topics depending on who you're talking to? So if you happen to meet me somewhere and we're doing blokey bloke stuff, you might give me the stress. I got a great talk that might be great for you. But if you happen to meet Lauren and Sunny for some reason there as well, then you drive her towards next Thursday's talk at 7, but me Tuesday at 7. Is that what you think? Yeah.
Nailed it. And I never want them more than 30 days out. Not as a startup. I spread my schedule out now because we don't need to, push the envelope so much with talks. So it's monthly. I did weekly talk. I started my goal. I built my practice on talks. There wasn't even social media back then. And I certainly didn't. I eventually started pumping money into print ads and radio ads. I didn't have marketing money starting out. I had marketing time. Yes. I had Tony. And if I had, all that changes in social media now is Tony has a phone and it can do, literally you get double time value because it's insane how much you can do as a startup right now. So I had a talk every Tuesday and Thursday night. I had a goal of, I hosted one in my office. So again, if I can't do it in my office in this scenario, the librarian and I are homies. She's going to be like, Tuesday night, Tony, 6 o'clock, Tony's coming in with his, whatever to do his talk. So I had them on rotation. I had a calendar out at least a month in advance. I would schedule them out 3 months in advance. And here's a cool way we can teach this to folks. I have been able to help out with startups a ton over the years. And I always watch them, whether they know I'm watching them or not. And I'm not even like paid directly one-on-one coach that thing, but I know they're going to be successful with new patients or not by one of two moves I can do on the internet in 3 minutes or less. I go to their Facebook and Instagram, put them the same. So I go to their social media and all I need to check for is number one, quick little scroll. Are they posting every single day? I'm not even judging the content. I'm not judging whether the video is grainy or the picture is this or the write-up was, using the wrong words. I'm just looking for consistency. And then I also click on the events tab. And if it unfolds like a scroll, they got 6 talks in the next 6 weeks in community events. I'd take 100,000, I'd bankroll that practice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then conversely, if I go to their page, they haven't posted in 2 weeks or even 2 days. If you're a startup, 2 days is a long time because nobody knows you. So you got to go over the top. And if I click on the events tab and there's no talks coming up, there's no new patients coming in. Done for. So the marketing calendar, dude, we live by that today.
Yeah. So let me give you a scenario. You and I are working out. There happens to be one of those outdoor kind of workout sort of things.
Dude, let's go.
So because you've got no money to be having a gym membership there too, and we start having a chat. And how might you look for an opportunity to take that chat to either one, directly invite me into the office, because sometimes there's a softball that gets thrown like, oh, man, I don't need to take this guy through the workshop, to maybe the workshop. Like, how did that unfold? Give me the nitty gritties of that.
You were challenging. I don't have any money and I have to talk to dudes. Oh man, you're literally throwing me as far off of my freaking
Well,
radar.
okay. But I wondered if it was more creepy though, if you
No,
happen
we're
to be
doing
kind of
it.
just going straight up to Lauren.
Oh yeah, are we in tank tops and like jorts and we're just straight doing it? Okay.
Well,
No.
let's just say for this. Okay. I've got rollerblades on. Okay. I'm wearing a bum bag, bike shorts that are fluoro yellow. And yes, I have a tank top on. Okay. So, and you
Okay.
happen to be, you're doing preacher curls and I pull up next
100%.
to you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, clearly I know that you're subluxated and stressed at the max because you've made these choices with your life. So that's
I fell over on the rollerblades. Yes.
Yeah, totally. Like, okay, this person is subluxated. They're making terrible life choices. So let's save this person.
Yeah.
So here's how it goes. The structure of our bro chat is the same as if I'm in a coffee shop. I'm chatting with a mom, right? And the bum. So it's your, Lizzie and Sonny. So first off, and this is the only place in these scenarios where I feel like I'm worth my salt at all at being Socratic, which is the old phrase for ask them a few questions before you start talking, right?
Yes.
I think when chiropractors learn the value of being Socratic, they take it about 2 or 3 questions too far and they come off as super salesy and annoying. So you only need about 1 to 2 layers of questions. So I'm gonna roll up, gonna get to know you a little bit. And I would just ask you a question and just straight up be like, hey, when it comes to your health, things like your energy, things like your recovery, because we're working out, right? So I'm gonna put it in that frame. When it comes to your energy, when it comes to recovery, when it comes to flexibility, when it comes to strength. So I'm basically verbally giving you a multiple choice test question. Do you struggle with any of these 3, 4, 5 things? And I'm going to pick those based upon what my guess of quick interpretation of your life. It's likely something's going to hit, You're going to say, yeah, you know what? I love working out, but I'm sore all the freaking time. And I just power through it and I pop 6 Aleve or, ibuprofen or whatever it is. Well, that's all I needed. There's my window. And now I can start to reframe. It's kind of another question that turns into an explanation. It's like, well, that's totally understandable. That is such a ridiculously common thing for weirdos who rollerblade and work out to go through. And that sucks because if it continues to build up, it might get bad enough where you ain't going to be here, doing your frolicking around the park in your rollerblades, which is a huge part of your life. So basically what I'm doing is letting them, I'm reaffirming the fact that whatever that thing is they're doing is the most important part of their life. They can't live without it. I want to move it into that sort of space. Like for a mom with their baby, it's getting sleep and them knowing that they're comfortable. They can't live. They literally feel torn apart inside until they know their baby's okay. For a child with autism, until they get eye contact and they get that, they get some love and they get a easier kind of day-to-day life, they're torn apart inside. Their quality of life is dependent upon, for the workout guy, the workouts. And for the mom, it's no different. It's the same thing. So from there, I'm going to move it to the nervous system. And I'm going to say, well, all of that starts with the nervous system. Your energy comes from your nervous system, your recovery, your performance, everything comes from your nervous system. And 99% of us, our nervous system is completely tapped out, completely worn out, completely stressed out. We do an entire workshop about this, give you all sorts of tips and strategies that you can apply to your Randy the rollerblader life here. And you're going to freaking love it. And I pull out my phone, I've got one. We happen to be doing it at the Crystal Lake Library next Tuesday at 6:00. In today's world, this would all be on Eventbrite, so it's free, right? I mean, I couldn't do this in the past. I would literally have like flyers in my freaking car, and I'd be like, "Let me run to my car that I don't want you to see, and grab you a flyer," and do it. These days, my events would all be scheduled on Eventbrite, so I would literally go on my phone, grab the link to the workshop that fits this homie or fits this mom. And I just airdrop it or text it to them in the moment. That way they have it. like, you got to finish. I wanted to go, you asked for granular. You got to finish the job. If you're going to invite somebody to a workshop or invite somebody to become a new patient, I always use workshops as the bridge. You can't hope they remember and find that on their own. You got to freaking close the deal. You have got to put in old school, put a flyer on their hand. We now have postcards that go to our places and it's got a QR code right to the landing page, evergreen. register, go.
Dean Jackson, a terrific marketer, has a great story he talks about with regards to, he says, if you imagine that, you had a friend inside of your house and you had said to them, hey, listen, if you want a chocolate cookie at any stage, they're in the cupboard, just go and help yourself. And there would be some of your friends that would get up out of the chair and go and help themselves, okay? However, if you went and got those cookies out of the cupboard and brought them over and wafted them in front of somebody's nose and said, hey, Tony, do you want a cookie? Make it easy for them. And that's the example that you talk about there is make it easy. I know for me, I'm thinking about, one of the obvious questions that you can kind of ask if you happen to be, I think some of this goes wrong. I had a coaching session this morning with a young guy and we talked about kind of internal referrals and how we stimulate internal referrals. And there's a couple of ways that, one of them is you're on the table and you turn to me and go, oh man, Angus, got to tell you that, dude, since I've been getting adjusted, no headaches whole week. And I would go, that's ace, Tony. I'm so thrilled at how things are going. And hey, I got a question for you, buddy. Who do you know that's got headaches? Some version like that. And then, now, I don't know about you. That would shit me as a patient. I really, now it might not, because I know of people who tell me they do that and they tell me it works. So I'll believe them that it does, but it wouldn't work for me. But so a subtle little thing, not every interaction that you're going to have with a patient is going to lead to an internal referral. And not every interaction, this is again, my beliefs here, not every interaction that I have with somebody in my community is going to lead to me inviting them into the workshop. But we've got to look for those scenarios, because I think a small tweak to that for those people that are, and this dude's super introverted, and we made a change with it. And I said, look, next time somebody celebrates something that's going, somebody celebrates, first of all, you have to celebrate with them. Man, Tony, that's brilliant. I'm so thrilled that things have gone so great for you. Then the bridge statement that you can go one of two ways. You can either go to what I call the injustice, or you can go, and this would work just as well if you're talking to people, you either go to the injustice or you go to the compassion. So the injustice would look like this. Tony, I'm so thrilled that you haven't had any headaches. I got to tell you, buddy, what frustrates me is the number of people in this community that are popping pills left, right, and center. And they don't even know that chiropractic can help them. Now, one of two scenarios through here, actually, I'll tell you what the compassion is, because it's the same thing. The compassion, instead of saying what frustrates me, says, you say what breaks my heart. What breaks my heart is to think of what, so, and then the same thing. Now, in this situation here, Tony's going to either come back and throw me a softball, in which case he's going to go, I know, man, like the people at my work, you cannot understand how many of them are taking pills left, right, and center. In which case I say, hey, Tony, I don't even know about this, but we have a family and friends referral program here that is just for our patients. We have a special card there, and instead of the initial consultation being 175, it's 75. Would you like it if Julie at the front desk gave you one of those cards to hand out to bill it? And now, that to me as a patient, I love that whole experience. I asked for permission. We rolled through. I made it mission-based. I shared the compassion, or I shared the injustice, and off we go through there too. These scenarios will come up for you. You're sitting at the cafe, you're talking to a mum, you get a smile at the kid there too. And like, how's the sleep going? Like, it's such an obvious question to throw there. Oh, it's a nightmare. Oh, really? There it is. Then we can kind of, get into it too. But I think sometimes the mistake is that we think that every conversation is going to lead to.
You so much. So, I mean, you'd have to be, you're still single if your move of trying to get married has been ask somebody to marry you within 1 to 2 minutes of meeting them at whenever you met them, right?
Yeah.
But we do this with a new patient. People aren't dumb. They know that going to a chiropractor is a big commitment, and it's at least a brand new commitment, which is big, right? And so, it's crazy. ADHD Raging Bull me is the most patient marketer, communicator ever. I am, but it's 2 P's. I am persistent, patient, and somewhere I should sneak an S in there if I'm making up an acronym on the fly here, I'm also strategic AF.
Yes.
So I know I've got I know I've got a great website, sure, but I know I've got workshops coming out forever, right? So I always use those as the bridge, and this will help really cement it for everybody, because it's because it's a story and a name. So to help you, the strategy we're teaching here will help with this story. A couple of years ago, I was at Life Vision, speaking there, Dr. Jill and the amazing crew, Dr. Riekman, Dr. Scott, and they had all the speakers come back on Friday night, and they put them all on the stage, and they let the students and their spouses stay after. And it was just Q&A, and one of the spouses of a chiropractic student going back as a second career. So this guy was already like 45, 50. And he stands up and he says, well, I'm not a chiropractor, but I'm in sales. And, in sales, the number one thing we are trained and we got to have is our elevator speech. So we were in whatever hotel with 40 floors. And he's like, so let's say tonight you guys are going up to your room, and, you get on there and another person gets on there, and you got 1 minute. And you're going to do your elevator speech about chiropractic. And I'm on the end, Angus. So this thing rolls left to right. And I'm last, however, the way this volley is going. And I love chiropractors, but I do not love the way chiropractors communicate. Just please keep loving me, even though I say that statement. In fact, I loathe, it's like that Instagram reel, 90 lots of % of the way, because it was a vitality, words were just spewing forth from the stage about feeling, it's not about feeling, it's about function, and in the universal intelligence and the innate expression, and we unite man, the physical with, and I'm like, literally, if I'm the other person on this elevator, I'm pretending I'm on floor 10, getting the hell off of that elevator because I'm riding with a weirdo and I don't know how this is going to happen, right? I'm ranting now, but so then, and this whole time I'm building my response, which is what we just got done talking about. My strategy, my response is going to be, I'm spending the whole minute, the first 40 seconds at least is probably going to take me getting to know what matters most to that person. I need a tiny bit of life demographics. I'm going to poke a bear or two, energy, sleep. I know what the problems are in that life demographic. And then I'm going to invite them to my next workshop. Somebody told a Reggie Gold story like this. I can't remember who said this. He said, you know what? I was in the audience once at a chiropractic seminar when somebody asked Reggie that. They said, Reggie, you got 1 minute to talk about chiropractic. What do you say? Go. And he goes, I just spent the entire minute convincing that person to come listen to me talk about chiropractic for an hour. I was like, son of a, Reggie said it right. What a brilliant communicator. Because
yes,
that is luckily through this kind of workshop strategy, that had been what I'd been doing. And I said that. And it just cemented that for me that night. And I left that night thinking, man, if I can teach this to startups, get your calendar busy, give them opportunities to learn more, and then be patient. And there is never a tougher time to be patient than when you are a startup. And so this is hard to follow, but it works.
There's certainly some irony in this, because I've put a bunch of artificial constraints on you in this scenario here too. The issue for me in terms of the 1 minute elevator speech there too, is I actually think there's more opportunity for me to ruin a future relationship than there is for me to get them into chiropractic care by even attempting that in the elevator. And so, I might throw out, I'm going to ask some questions to them. And again, they might throw me a softball, but if not, my answer is this, if you want to build your practice, don't be hanging out in elevators. Don't hang out in places where you get a minute with people. That's
so damn true.
So we have to catch this kind of rah-rah stuff that excites us as chiropractors. We love that, power that made the body heals the body. We love that stuff when we're talking to other chiropractors. That's chiropractor talk. And we should continue that when we're talking to other chiropractors. But we need to understand that, that's not what works with people. I want to head a different direction for you. I want to change the constraints a little bit. I'm interested in this one, particularly from a personal point of view. You are going to open up another practice. Okay. And this one, you don't have the budgetary constraints with. The constraint you have is that this practice is in a place that you're never going to go and visit. Okay. In fact, you can go and visit to choose the decor and choose the place and all those. But from the moment the practice is set up, you never, ever, ever go there. So this is a place that you need to hire the staff, the chiropractors, all those kind of things there too. And it's not down the road that you can get together with them and do weekly meetings as well. So the constraint is that you're not going to be there. Now, I want our listeners to think about this, because this is useful if you do want to open a second practice. This is useful for how would I support my associates that are maybe working in the same practice. You know, how would I go about that? One of the things that Lauren and I are thinking about at the moment is, do we have 18 months or 2 years overseas? And how would we continue to support our staff? It's one thing for us to support the staff when we're 30 minutes away and we can pop in and, you know, we do a monthly team dinner and all those kind of things there too. But if that got taken away from us, now clearly this works because there are lots of people that run businesses, not necessarily chiropractic businesses, that they never step foot into as well. So how would you go about that? What would your considerations be when employing people? How would you keep communication, training, team morale, all of that kind of stuff?
Okay. I love it. There's a lot to it. To a degree, I have a little bit, it's not Chico, like a little bit of a head start, because I've been thinking around these departments myself, not necessarily for travel, but like the fact that people travel to us so much, like we should at least have one an hour in this direction, another direction. So I've really been picking brains of people who have had satellites or different levels of operations to it. And God's just kind of brought me around some of these. There's virtual clinics and kind of the functional med space. Anyway, just had a bunch of unique exposures over the last 2 to 3 years. And you kind of take bits and pieces and you're like, oh, that I could do this, and you could do that, and you could do that. So, all right. So just a couple of chicken scratch notes here. The most important decision. So we've already made the decision about where it's going, right? So
you're able to travel the place, and you've got to, you know, you've set the practice up so it looks cool. You know, you're happy with the environment, all those kind of stuff. You've got your tables, you've got your insights, you've got all that kind of stuff there.
So I got to fill it. I got to fill it with people. I got to choose the team. And then help them get the patients in. So it's a people plan. All right, game on. Yes. So the who decision now becomes like over the top. So I am very methodical about hiring to begin with. Like there's a very specific blueprint of character. So it's always based upon character and core values first. It's, you know, what technique they use, what school they went to, what grades they got. Like that's so far down the list, it does, you almost can't even see it, right? From the actual main list. So I'm choosing the right person. And I'm going to take this.
I want to know more about that. Like one, what character and core values are you looking for? And two, how do you assess those? How do you find out what they are?
Yeah. So we go through, in this case, I already do with our interns, they're going to be, in our office. There, I messed up my video again. Crap. We're going to take it. We're going to triple it. So very first thing we're looking for is our core values. We have 7 of them at PwC, but for this, it's we're going to trim it to 3. They all center around this. It is hungry. So you got to have that driven. Like we have and zero issues with saying it. We have kind of we have a hustle culture, not a hustle with adrenal fatigue and sympathetic burnout, but just the right kind of hustle. Cause we do it. So there's the hunger and the drive, you know, somebody's got to be a go-getter. Everybody's like, well, yeah, that one's on the list. Humility, I'm actually going the wrong order. Humility is first. And this is hard to interview for, but I'll get to humility is what we're looking for. And I'll give you some strategies of how to sniff it out. So humility is first, and then hunger is right there. And then really just strategic awareness, situational awareness. So I'm going to make this person come hang out with us a lot. And if we're at a restaurant, I'm watching how they handle the space. I'm watching how they treat the waiter. Like whatever questions I'm talking to this person are less interesting to me than me watching them when they don't know I'm watching them to see how they're handling the room and taking care of others and treating their spouse if they're there. All these like inner things I'm watching for character and core values to it. One of the things you can find both hunger and humility is you go back into their story. I want to know that doctor, even if they've already established and I'm hiring somebody, you know, who's been in practice a few years, I'm going to dig into, it's kind of like the early childhood history. I want to know as a student, were you a seminar junkie? Were you a club junkie? Were you an assembly junkie? Were you a mission trip junkie? Like, did you go the extra 20%? Did you spend your weekends learning? Did you spend your break shadowing? Because if you did, points, right?
Yep.
But if you tell me like, oh no, I was valedictorian of one club and I never did anything, you know, and you go right to your greatness, I know that your ego matters more than your ability, right? I'm not asking for somebody to hide their accolades, but what I'm looking for is like that relentless learner, you know, and they're just always there. The second thing with this interview process, because the who of the doctor and the team, which I do this all the time, but we're really going to do this. That person's got to come to our shop and spend where we're happening here, you know, and spend a lot of time with us. They need to be around the team. They need to be around the patients. They need to be immersed in the culture. So I'm going to make some form of an internship. Even if I have to like super speed, like make an intensive internship in 2 weeks or something, I'll pay, right? This is on my dime. They're in a hotel, you know, they're in here, but they're coming here to train at the Future Vision shop like that in a huge way. So that's the team. And I would go back to the way we did it before. I would hire at the same time and then go through this whole process of how I hired them and then how I onboard them. It would be the doc and the CA.
Yes.
Whoever is their Julie is coming with them.
Yep.
Okay. On this journey, because I'm not sending anybody into a practice on their own. Now, the way this works, that's so cool though. I don't care if it's in freaking Adelaide, right? Digital and social media and the website, they can use my brand. I would take the brand and intentionally spread the heck out of it. So all the brand book, the name, you know, they're going to be able to ride on the coattails through social media, through emails, through the website. They're going to be able to ride the brand expertise and authority that the established practice has built. And people are like, well, that doesn't work if it's not 10 miles away. Yes, it does. Because we're on the internet, goes all the way everywhere just as quick. And your digital brand is more important for moms these days than even your in community. You're not talked about in any community yet. You're not there yet.
Yep.
So you don't have a chance, but you can build a digital footprint, especially if you already have one established. So I'm running marketing, my marketing team, running them. I may need that. I do need them. Sorry, I'm doing this on the fly, so I'm not super smooth.
Totally, buddy. Like, I'm throwing this to you intentionally.
I love it. And so they got to do videos. Their community is going to need to see them because they're going to see them, right? So they have to do videos. Go to
the side for a bit there too, because I'm interested, because almost all of the marketing stuff that we said for scenario number one, they're going to be doing that, but they're going to have budget behind them to accelerate it. What I'm interested in, how do you keep on top of not letting the inmates run the asylum? I'm interested in the relationship, the management relationship that you would have with the staff rather than the staff having with the patients. Like, how do you, because you have such a beautiful team that you have now.
Yep.
And the story that goes on inside of my brain is that makes sense because there's such a high level of touch. They see you, they see Christina, like you're very present there as the founders of the practice. So it makes sense that there's that too. Okay. But what if you were never there?
I got you, buddy. I run it. This one is actually a little bit of softball for me now. Literally would not have been 12 months ago because Team PX is well over half of it's digital. So tomorrow morning we'll have our team meeting via Zoom. I run a remote company. I have a digital company now, and I freaked out because of exactly the scenario. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to do this. I'm not gonna be able to do this. We didn't hire VAs. We went against the grain. I'm like, I'm going to do a digital company my way. Yes. And so I made my first couple of VAs be local, and I sacrificed the quality of the hire so that I could sit down with them every Tuesday and share my magical in-person touch, which, don't get me wrong, I can walk into a team meeting and throw some spizz on the fire. You know what I mean? And get people lit up. You can do it digitally too. So John's in Franklin, Aaron's in Palatine, Alyssa just moved from Utah. So tomorrow there'll be our core 5 team. Actually, there'll be 8 on Zoom tomorrow, and it's all digital. So my process of training the team and meeting with the team doesn't change. They're just Zoom buddies with me instead of chair to chair. So the very first thing you got to do in this scenario is you're going to spend the first 10 to 20 minutes of every phone call, every Zoom meeting, one-on-one, one-on-many, sharing wins. I need that doctor to tell me at the beginning of every meeting, to tell us and their team, what patient wins do you have first? That is the mandatory step one of every meeting agenda. Give me at least one kid's story that has you, all welled up on the inside. Share it, because that's why. So you start with why. Then let's get into business stuff with the stats and now I can move into management mode. But I manage the why. I lead the why. I hate the word manage, actually. I lead with why all the time. So tomorrow we'll do that. Like, what are our wins? So in PX, it's about, what startup is killing it? What team just hired another associate? What team just built another office? What team just went viral? We'll start with wins before we get into business. So you can share that magic digitally.
How long would that meeting be if you imagine you're doing it with a new chiropractic practice, and how often would those meetings be?
Yeah, minimum weekly. If it's new, so if we go all the way to the beginning, I would take at least kind of like 60 to 120 minutes of my life each week to get started. Now, what I've done, scaling in time, in my time now, I just gotta say how it is. Matt could do one of these calls, if not all of them. Jackie could do. So, I've done this in a scale with my team. I've trained trainers now, right? I've taught teachers, Matt's a teacher of other doctors. Jackie's a teacher of other CAs. So actually I could be quite hands-off in this scenario because the practice so that's actually a very important wrinkle, I think. Let me expand upon that if it's confusing the listener right now. I wouldn't make this move until I'm many doctors and many CAs deep inside my one location, so that I know that I've mastered the art of onboarding, training, and accountability. Onboarding and training for 90 days are easy. Can you hold them accountable 9 years later? And so because I have that system, I not only now have the system, I have other people that will call it, let's call it the hub practice, the main mothership practice. I might not need to be on every one of these weekly training meetings, because if it's about CA stuff, Jackie's going to come on and she's going to say the same thing. Tell me the wins. Now let's go into it. So the meetings, 60 minutes once a week. Startups though, I would do this twice, because I would do like a business meeting start of the week, and then middle of the week we would pick something to train on, doctor training, day 1, day 2, adjusting, something like that.
If you fast forward 2 years down the track, the practice is out of startup and is more established then, what do you think would be the biggest challenges that you might have in running that practice remotely? Are they different from the startup days?
Yeah. So what I would do, in that scenario, one thing we'd do is not just the Zoom meetings. What we got to do, so I do this with my digital team on PX, there is, no matter how long the flight is, there's a quarterly in-person 2-day event. Okay. We're forcing, the other thing too, just to go back to I'm going to go back and then go forward to that. The way we get a kicking ass in 2 years, depending upon the flight distance, okay, and what it takes out of my life, because I got money, training, so I'm not only giving them the entire social media and marketing blueprint. We'll do most of the posting for them. I need 1 or 2 videos. I need them to show their face and their style 1 to 2 times. The rest of it is Canva and carousels and written, and I'm a master at that, so they can use our content. It just goes there. And then now I got money. So I'm boosting it. I'm running Facebook ads to their workshops. And to get them off the ground and running, I thought about this part 1,000 times over. I would go there once a month. If it's further away, I'd go quarterly. And I'm doing the workshop with them. Instead of Tony doing my workshop, it's 2 stools. We're co-teaching the workshop and I'm vouching. So now I come in and I'm third-party endorsement. I train this mofo. Yes. But I know that I can crush talks and convert better than they can in year 1 and year 2. So I've done this locally. When I know one of my little birds is going to leave the flock and go up in their practice, the 3rd year. So I train them to adjust. year one. We train them to do day one, day two, year two. If I know they're going back with their family, they're going to open up, right? Year three, I let them get involved in marketing. And one of the things I do is I will invite them to a stool alongside us and do the workshop. I'm not going to give them the full reins because they're not ready for it. So I would even go to that practice and do that. But now 2 years in, you have quarterly meetups. We've got a dashboard. So, and the dashboard that I would check the most to know how this practice is doing is not PV, PVA, OVA, collections, conversions. It's Google reviews and social media following. Do the people, love them. I would put more stake. I'm not kicking out the business stats. That's dumb. You're running a business.
It's not an either or.
Yeah. It's just, I'm looking at a different pecking order. And if I got no Google reviews coming that are saying this practice treats me like family, this is the miracles. And if they don't have raving fans on social media, engaging and boosting without being asked to, there's a problem.
And then I would imagine too, like if we went with by that typical, the first constraint I went to in this second scenario of you can't go there, you could also fly them to you for when you're running the workshops and they could sit next to you. And either way, you're going to, what I'm seeing from here is you're going to be looking for in-person time, whether it's quarterly in-person meetings, whether they're flying in when you're doing other things, as well as the kind of weekly face time. Because it seems to me, my experience is that there's a lot of abdication that happens with chiropractors when they get satellite practices. It's like, just look after it. And rarely does it work. There's high turnover of staff. It often doesn't reflect the first practice. And these are some of the things that, Lauren and I have been mulling over of how could we do as good a job from the other side of the planet to support them with this too. I'm fascinated by this, and
did my team. Did Jackie? Speaking of Jackie and Matt, who made it into, did they put this up to you? Because they were in Nashville. They are on my, to open a satellite in Nashville because we have so many patients flying up for that. Literally, they put this up to you, didn't they? They're like, get Tony thinking about the strategy.
Wow, man, this is just, more signs of grace is what it is. So, buddy, I love that I have the opportunity. We have such a great friendship, but often it's kind of weird if you question your friends in scenarios like this. So to have this platform to kind of poke and prod and look inside to see what's going on there too. I've got 2 pages of notes here as well. So thanks for sharing so generously today. What's the best spot for the peeps to find you? I'll make sure this is in the show notes as well, but what's the best spot for them to find you?
Yeah, two spots. You got to follow us with Instagram. So the Paediatric Experience is where you can see what we're rocking there within chiropractic. My personal is DRT, Dr. T. PX Kid Chiro, but on Facebook, we have the most valuable Facebook group in chiropractic for free. It's not like our private coaching group or anything. We have that too, but Paediatric Chiropractic Today. Yeah. That's the 3 words. It's titled Paediatric Chiropractic Today. Angus gets in there and helps out. It's on like that. That thing is an incredible resource for sure.
For our listeners that might be interested in expanding their pediatric impact, there's just nothing better. The Paediatric Experience has bridged something that's never been done inside of pediatric chiropractic before. They tend to be this, and they're all great, either very technique focused, and here's how we do Webster technique and adjust pregnant mums and babies, very necessary. Communication based, here's how we, marketing kind of stuff there too, which is sometimes looked down upon there. There's that side of things, or they're very science focused there too. And you, goddamn it, are a genius in all 3 of those. It's very rare. It's very, very rare to see somebody that has reached the level that you have competency in being able to talk the science, the technique, and the communication and marketing. If you're wanting to expand your pediatric practice, please check out Tony's stuff for that too. You'll be very, very grateful that you have. Buddy, I love you to the moon and back. Look forward to chatting with you again real soon. Have a brilliant night.
Love you, man. Get your work done for the day. Get on the golf course, man. Go knock them straight. All right, brother. Love you, dude.
I will be hitting the range for a few balls later on. I've got a bit of work to do before that, but I will be the range at least. So, all right, dude.
Yes,
Talk soon. See ya.
See you, homie.
If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out my Community Influencer program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work with you to help you apply it, implement it, and systemize it. The Community Influencer Group Coaching program is designed to help you increase your practice income, impact, and enjoyment. Join me over at anguspyke.com/join. That's anguspyke.com/join. I'd love to see you there.